A petition is demanding Dundas Street in Toronto be renamed because the person it's named after opposed the abolition of slavery in the 18th century. Mayor John Tory said even he didn't know how Dundas Street got its name until now and suspects a lot of Torontonians might not either. Well, this comes on the heels of a report on allegations of systemic racism in the Peel District School Board, which serves municipalities just west of the city of Toronto. With more this morning, we're joined by Lance McCready. He's an associate professor at the University of Toronto in the Department of Leadership, Higher and Adult Education. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Let's talk first of all about this report. It suggests the school board is not committed to addressing racism in its ranks, and now the Ontario Education Minister has weighed in. He says that needs to change. How can school boards take tangible action towards addressing racism?
Well, I think that Arlene Huggins, the author of the report, well-known sort of civil rights sort of lawyer, I think that it's really important that school boards do it transparently. I think it's important they have to work with community. I think they have to ensure some accountability. Arlene Huggins sort of pointed out that all these phrases: fail to comply, fail to see, failure to provide leadership. This was frustrating to me. This saddened me, and it sort of makes me move to have to act against this. I think the problem was that the school board wasn't really acting transparently. It wasn't sort of holding itself accountable to what the minister had said they had to do, and this is what created the problems.
Yeah, recent Peel School Board data shows that about 83% of secondary students are racialized, while about 2/3 of the teachers are white. How should diversity among teachers be addressed?
I think there are going to have to be a lot of bold policies. I think one of the things is it's not enough to just simply remove barriers from racialized teachers entering the force. I think we're going to have to do more targeted recruitment. I know, for instance, that the School of Education at University of Manitoba did targeted recruitment and was able to increase the number of teacher candidates from underrepresented backgrounds greatly, I think as much as 50%. I think that we're going to have to do that in our teaching force, and I think we're going to have to work with our unions to have more targeted policies.
The link between Dundas Street and a historical figure who supported slavery, Henry Dundas, is only just now being talked about. So It makes me wonder, does racism and does more knowledge and history, and in particular Black history in this country, need to be included in our curriculum?
I definitely think more Black history needs to be included in our curriculum. I've interviewed hundreds of Black students in Canadian schools, and one of the main findings I have from those interviews is that students feel that the school system is not for them. They feel it is not set up for Black people. And one of the reasons why they think it is not set up for Black people is they don't see themselves reflected in the curriculum. I think this creates part of the mental health issues with Black students as they go through the school system, not seeing themselves, feeling like this whole place where they're supposed to be experiencing a positive learning environment is actually not for them. It's really important that we include more Black history in the curriculum.
Lance, in your opinion, what effect does the lack of diversity in our school systems have on the quality of education that our students are receiving?
There's some evidence actually that it may be reducing the quality, and we're not exactly sure about all of the mechanisms of how this happens, but there was a really important study done at Johns Hopkins at the National Bureau of Economic Research that actually showed that Black students who had a Black teacher before third grade were more likely, like 30% more likely, to go on to college or university. So this is really important that Black students that had two teachers before middle school were more than twice as likely, 50% more likely to go to college or university. So I think there are a lot of connections, and even connections that we haven't explored, of how diversifying the teaching force and having more Black teachers may actually improve and affect the academic achievement of Black students, and all students generally.
There are a lot of teachers who have taken the onus upon themselves to do some research to add to the curriculum. What do you want to see done from the Ministry of Education in all provinces about inserting Black history, Canadian Black history, into our textbooks?
Well, I think that there's going to have to be a lot of education. I think there's going to have to be a lot of administrators and teachers looking at webinars, doing as much reading as they can to really understand Black history in Canada. I think that This may mean that we may need to break ties with certain sort of textbook companies that don't represent Black people equitably and fairly and positively. We may need to actually have teachers creating more curriculum guided by a sense of principles to challenge anti-Black racism. But I think there's a lot that we can do.
Lance McCready, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. Good to have you in this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.